So hello and welcome to this video on the ultimate guide for managing blocks in Drupal. Hello, I am your presenter, Ivan. I always change how I present myself. I can never come up with a nice way of presenting myself. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about how to manage blocks in Drupal. It's not the most sexiest thing. It's not the most creative thing, but it's important to understand if you want to utilize Drupal, because at the heart of a Drupal page are blocks and regions and how that all mixes in together. So when I was trying to come up with an idea for this week's video, I thought, you know what, blocks are important. You deal with them a lot. You have to understand how regions work, how blocks work, because blocks are now in Layout Builder, and you have regions and you have layouts and things like that. So it's important to have a good understanding of how the block system works. Now, before we jump into things, let's just talk about what blocks are. So here I've got a Drupal page, and can you guess what a block is? Well, this logo right here is a block. We have the main navigation here on the right is a block. The user navigation as well is a block. And if you do have the contextual links module installed, you will see this little pencil icon. And you will straight away know if it's a block, because if you click on the pencil icon, you will see configure block, remove block. Then we have configure block, remove block. We come along in here, we have configure block, remove block. Even this main content region is a block. If you go further down, you will also see down here, configure block and remove block. So a Drupal page, because remember, Drupal is just a fancy HTML generator. That's it. When you use Drupal to actually generate HTML, because of course now there's headless Drupal and things like that, but if you use vanilla Drupal to actually generate your HTML, it is just a fancy HTML generator, and that is it. So as you can see, blocks play an important part. Now, a block is added into a region, and a region is part of a theme. Now, you can manage all of your blocks and see all the regions by going into structure. So make sure you're logged in, and then click on block layout. And then here you can see all of the regions that are available for the front end theme. If you click on the back end theme or any of your themes, you will see the region names. Now, the regions are defined by the theme. You can call it whatever you want. You can create as many regions as you want. Now, looking at the region names here, you can see we have primary menu and we have a few blocks in here. We have secondary menu and we have a few blocks in here. And then we have hero full width with no blocks. Now, it is hard to visually see where these regions appear. So if you want to see where the region appears in context with the theme, click on this demonstrate block regions. This will now show you exactly where the region is using that particular theme. So you can see here we have hero full width is full width. Then you have social sidebar, highlighted, breadcrumb, content above, content below, footer top, footer bottom, sidebar. Trust me, these aren't a lot of regions. I've seen other themes with way more regions. Even remember good old Bartek, that old theme, that powered Drupal for a very long time. That had like 4-column footer postscript, prescript, a lot of regions. If we jump back and go to Claro and click on that, this is the backend theme. Not that many regions, but you don't really need that many regions. And what I'll also do is let me jump into the code, because I'll show you exactly what it looks like in code. So if we go to web, core, themes, and click on the front end theme, and then you click on, I believe it's info, you will see the regions right here. And they are defined here. And if you are building your own theme, all you need to do to define a region is chuck it in your .info file. Then you need to actually render it out. So if you were to go, I believe, is it layout, page, probably go in here, and yeah, you can see it, see more here. You have like page.header, page.highlighted, page.breadcrumb, and you can define it all here. Now, this is for the advanced site builder. If you are planning to create your own theme, I'm sure you understand blocks and what the theme region is. If you are planning to create your own theme and you're new to Drupal, well, that is how you create a region in a theme. All right, let's now jump back into our Drupal site and let's go ahead and place a block into a region. So I'll click on my front-end theme and let's scroll all the way down to sidebar, because we know the sidebar is in the sidebar. There's only one sidebar. You don't have a sidebar left or right. And if I click on place block, here I can see all blocks which are defined by a module. And you can see that Drupal core comes with a few of them. And of course, if you install extra modules, you will get extra blocks. But what I'll do is I'll search for the powered by. Now, this is just a nice little powered by Drupal, and we're placing it into the region. Now, we can define a title. We can have a title displayed, and then we can also control the visibility settings. Now, we're not going to cover that right now. We'll cover that in a second, okay? Because I really want to focus on that, because that's an important part of the block system. And then if you scroll down, you can select a different region if you like. But because we've selected sidebar, it'll automatically go into sidebar. Now, if we click on save block, it'll add the block into that region, and we scroll down, and you can also see here that the footer bottom also has powered by Drupal. Now, I do believe Drupal 7 core only allowed you to place a block in a single region, whereas in Drupal 8 and above, and of course you're using Drupal 10 right now, blocks can be added to multiple regions. So the same block can be added to multiple regions. So if we click on Save Block here, let's open up a new tab, go to the home page, and now in the sidebar, we have our Powered by Drupal block. If you have the contextual links module installed, you can click on it and configure it, and this will take you back to the configuration page. Or if you're like, well, actually, I don't want that block anymore, it can be removed. So if we do click on remove block, it will remove the placement. Now, I should mention that, let's scroll back down to our sidebar. You do have options here. You can disable a block and you can remove a block. Disabling a block, if we scroll back down to sidebar, we'll simply disable it, but leave it in place. So this is a great way to just turn off blocks that you have to temporarily just turn off. So if you need to do that and you don't want to have to add them back in later, especially if you do have a lot of blocks, then just disable it. And then you'll see it's no longer there. If you want to fully remove the placement of the block, now, I do emphasize placement because clicking on remove does not delete this powered by Drupal block. This block is actually defined by code, so it's always going to be there. You can always add it back in. By clicking remove, it simply removes the placement of the block, because I don't want to get too technical from a development standpoint, but Drupal simply uses a config entity that says, that would say the powered by Drupal block is placed into the sidebar region. So that config entity which matches them up and places it into the region, only that is removed. The actual block isn't deleted. So you don't have to worry about blocks disappearing. And here it actually mentions it as well. This will remove the block placement. You will need to place it again in order to undo this action. So we can go ahead in there and remove it. And now it is fully removed. But if you want to add it back in, you need to come here. You need to add in powered by Drupal. You need to place it. If you have customized all this stuff, you need to customize that again. So you can see that there is benefit in just disabling it if you want to temporarily remove or hide a block. Okay, so at this point, we've covered how to place a block into a region and how to hide them. But if we click on place block, as I mentioned, all of these blocks are controlled by a module. They are defined by a bit of code, or technically a Drupal plugin. But what if you want to add a block with a bit of HTML? What if you want to add a call to action or a sign up block in the sidebar and say, click here to sign up or whatever? Now, Drupal allows you to create content blocks. These are essentially fieldable entities, so similar to a content type or similar to a taxonomy. These are just fieldable entities which you can use, and then it allows you to select the block from this block placement. So let me show you how to do that. Now, you can create a content block in a few ways. The first way is up the top here, is add a content block. The other way, if you click on content, is to then click on blocks, and then you can create the block here. If you can't see this block tab or the add content block link, there could be two reasons. First, you want to make sure that you have installed, I think it's block content blocks. Before it used to be called custom block or something like that. You want to make sure content block is enabled, or if you've enabled it and you still can't see it, clear the site cache, and then just have a look and see if it actually works. So let's go back and close these tabs. Let's go ahead and create an actual block. So I'll come along in here and call this one newsletter. If I can actually spell newsletter. And I will say, sign up now. Put that in an exclamation mark. Let's create a link. I don't know, point it to the newsletter. Page doesn't exist, but that doesn't matter. And we've gone ahead and let's just click on save. All right. So we have created our block here. So let me just refresh this page. And then on the right-hand side, you can see this operation link right here. And we can go in there and modify it. So we can come along in here, we can change the block description, and we can also change the body. And then you can create a new revision if you want and click on save. Now, at this point, we have the block, but we haven't placed it into a region. Now what we need to do is go to structure, block layout, and let's scroll down to sidebar, click on place block. And if we search for, well, newsletter, but you can see it right here. It is right here. And the category will be content block. If we search for newsletter, you will see that it appears there. If we click on place block, let's see if everything as it is. Let's leave the display title. We can also change the title. And let's place it in. Then click on save blocks. Let's go to the home page and we have our block right here. If we click on the pencil icon, we can edit the block straight away, which is actually pretty handy because you can come along in here, make your change, hit save, and then you go back. Or you can configure the block, which again allows you to configure the placement of the block. And then you can also go ahead and remove the block. Now, one thing that should be mentioned is that you can use blocks to create a library of reusable content components, which then can be placed in parts of your website. So if you want to have a particular reusable sign up form or a sign up link to something or a call to action, you can create it as a single block and then add it into multiple pages. And if you have to change it, you don't have to go through 20 different pages and change it. All you need to do is just come back to this screen here, click on edit, make your change, and then that change automatically propagates across all of the pages because those pages are simply embedding in this block. So straight away you can see just how powerful the block system can be. And in Drupal 8, the block system took things to the next level. In Drupal 7 and below, the block system was kind of like this rudimentary thing. It wasn't the greatest. You had to install a whole bunch of modules to even get this type of functionality. You have to, I think, install, what is it, the Beans module. That's a blast from the past. I think it meant, it was an acronym for something, block entities, but it was called Beans, I think. Yeah, so in Drupal 8, 9, and 10, or Drupal Next Generation, whatever you want to call this new phase, yeah, the block system has really taken off and you can do some powerful, powerful stuff. Now, as I mentioned, with the block system, with the block types, they are fieldable entities. So if we go back here, you'll see that there is a block type. So you can create your own block type, same as you can create your own content types like articles, basic pages, or your own vocabularies. So out of the box, Drupal will give you this basic block type. Say block 10 times. That's a tongue twister right there. And the basic block type can be managed by going to structure, and you will see block type right here, similar to comment types, similar to content types, similar to, well, no, that's about it. There is vocabularies, and I do believe contact forms as well are fieldable entities. But if we click on block types, here you can see we have our basic default block type. And if we click on manage fields, we get the standard set of fields because this is a fieldable entity. We get the manage fields, manage form display, and manage display. Now, I have covered the field system in the past. There is a past video. If you want to learn more about it, head over to the WebWash YouTube channel, search for field system, Drupal field system under live, and you will find it. So I'm not going to cover how to create fields too much in this video, but there you go. There's a free plug for some extra video if you want to consume and learn about Drupal. Now, as I mentioned, we know that this is a fieldable entity because we have the manage fields, manage form display, and manage display. And it comes with a single field called body, and that is it. But let's go ahead now and create our own block type. So let's go back to block types, click on add block type, and I'll call this one call to action. Click on manage and manage fields. Let's leave body in there. It's okay, we can have it in there. But let's just create one more field. Click on create a new field, and I'll call this one link, and we'll actually give it the link field. Where is it? Oh, right here. And then click on continue. Let's leave everything as it is and click on save settings. If we go to manage form display, we can adjust the widgets. That's all right. And then if we click on here, let's configure the formatter. Let's make the label inline and leave everything as it is. All right, it's looking good. So now what we can do is we can create a call to action by going to content, blocks, and let's call this one buy. Let's call it buy now. And we'll put in a link by our latest product. Let's make that bold. Well, no, hit the wrong B because I can't see where the B is. And let's just put in a product link buy now. Okay, so we're going to have the body of buy our latest product. Then we have product link and buy now. We click on save, and now we have this block. At this point, we have the block, but we need to add it to the sidebar. So let's do that. To do that, again, go to structure, block layout, scroll all the way down to sidebar, click on place block, you will see our buy now button. Click on place block, and let's change this to products. Well, actually call to action, just so that we can see it. Then click on save and save blocks. Then if we go to the home page, we should see our call to action here on the right. Then we have our buy our latest product. And of course, if we click on buy now, it's going to go to a page not found because the page doesn't exist. But you now understand how to create your own block type and create it and then add it to the sidebar. But let's take things one step further. Right now, we have just been adding the block to the sidebar through the block layout page. But what we can also do is attach these blocks to articles. And we're going to do that through an entity reference field. So let's go to structure. I'll close this tab. So let's go to structure and click on content types. And let's edit our article content type and click on create a new field. And I'll select reference and I'll call this one blocks. And we'll need to select other because we can't see blocks here, and click on continue. Then from type of item to reference, we need to select content block because that is the entity that we want to reference. Then scroll down and select the call to action. And this will mean that we can only select the call to action. If you want to select both, you can select basic block, but let's just leave it set to call to action. Then click on save settings. Let's go to manage form display. And with our blocks, let's change it from an autocomplete to select list so that we can actually see what blocks are available. And let's change, if we go to manage fields, let's move this below body and click on save. All right. If we go to the home page, we have our test page here, sorry. And if we edit the article and scroll all the way down, we can select buy now. And this is the reason why I like the select drop down instead of the autocomplete, because with the autocomplete, you need to know what the block says. Okay, what the actual name of the block to search for it. Whereas with the select, you can straight away see and select one. Of course, it doesn't work if you have hundreds and hundreds of blocks. But if you only have a few blocks, then just use a select drop down. So let's select it and then click on save. And then if we scroll down, we can see our blocks, but it's just a link. It looks nothing like this block right here. Why is that? Well, the reason why it looks like that is because we need to configure the formatter. So let's go back to structure, content types, and then click on manage display and scroll down until you see blocks. And you can see here, it's using the label formatter. Let's use the rendered entity. So this means it will actually render the block using the default view mode. And let's hide the label. Then scroll down and click on save. And now if we come back here and refresh, do we need to clear the cache? No, we don't. Here you go. We can straight away see that our block is being rendered because we are using a different formatter, which actually renders the entity, or in this case, the actual block. So that is how you can create a block with a bit of HTML, and then you can go ahead and create your different block types and add them in and sprinkle them across your website. Now, we could easily add this call to action block into 20 or 30 articles, and if we want to change them, all we need to do is come here and change the block once, and it'll automatically change across all of the articles. Now you may hit some caching issues where if you do have a fairly custom site and you haven't taken care of all your cache tags and things like that, or if you're using a CDN, then you may have to clear the cache to see the updated block across all your pages, but that's as simple as flushing the cache. But by using content blocks, you can create a library of reusable blocks and place them across all of your site. Okay, so do we have any questions so far? Let me just have a quick look before we move on to other things. If not, we will continue and work our way through. No, we don't. All right, cool. All right. All right, now it's the fun part. Well, everything's fun, let's be honest. Block visibility. And then it is that one. All right, cool. All right. Now, let's now take a look at the block visibility settings. So if we go to structure, block layout, and scroll all the way down and edit our call to action and configure it, you will see all of these options right here. Now, this is where you do spend a fair bit of time configuring things, because more often than not, you may want to hide or display a block depending on certain conditions. And this is where you can configure the visibility settings. So a common one is by page, where you only want a specific block to appear on, say, the front page or the contact us page, or any page that starts with /articles/ then the other option would be to have a block only displayed for particular roles. So if you do have a premium role, for example, you may want to only display a block for that. Or if you want to only display blocks for anonymous users, so people that aren't logged in, you can do that as well. And then you also have the ability to show or hide blocks based off content type, and then also vocabulary. Now you can install other modules and get even more options, or you can implement your own visibility settings. I believe it's the constraints plugin. You can write your own code to handle it. But let me show you how to set it up so that you only see this by now on the article content type. So to do that, you can come along in here and click on article. And this means that it'll only be displayed on the article. One thing to be aware of is that if you do select multiple constraints, so let's say, for example, we select article here and also anonymous, that means that the operator between these two will be an and. So that means the constraint would be that the user needs the role of anonymous, and the article needs to, and the user needs to be on an article. So the user needs to have the role of anonymous, and the content type needs to be article for this block to appear. So that is an and operator. So both need to return true for the block to be visible. So just be aware of that. So let me just uncheck that and click on Save Block. Now, if I go to the home page, you can straight away see, well, you can't see the By Now block because it's not there. But if we click on Drupal blocks here, you'll see that it is appearing straight away. The other option would be if we configure our Powered by Drupal block, if we add in this special option right here, and that is for front. So that means specifically the front page and click on Save Block, it'll only appear on the front page. You can see the Powered by Drupal block is no longer on the right-hand side, but if we go to the home page, it will appear on the home page right there. The other option would be, let's say if this sign up form, we want to say, well, actually, let's have it appear on /user. And you can add in multiple pages. What do you think is going to happen now? If you click on My Account, well, it's not going to appear. And why is that? That is because if you look in the URL, we have /user/1. So what we need to do, let's go back to manage. Let's go back to our block placement. What we need to do is add in / then a star. So this means that the URL needs to start with /user/ and then it'll appear. So we don't have to add in a specific line for every single user account. We don't have to do that. And now if we refresh, we will see the newsletter sign up block right here. So you can see that the block visibility settings, if we go back down, they are pretty powerful. But let's now take things to the next level and use an actual module. And what this module is, it's called Block Visibility Groups. This module allows you to define these visibility settings as groups, and then that group can be defined and added to multiple blocks. It'll make more sense when you actually play around with it. So let's start things off by scrolling down, copying the composer command and installing it. So we've downloaded it first. Give it a second. Let's close the tab. Let's go to extend, search for blocks. Sorry, I think it's probably called group. There you go, block visibility groups. And let's then install it. Then if you go to structure, block layout, you will see these visibility groups right here. And click on add visibility group. And what you can do is create one for, say, the article content type. So I'll call this one article content type. And this option right here, allow other conditions on blocks. This will allow us to select a group plus other conditions, but we don't want to do that. And then below that option, we have this radio button. All conditions must pass true, or only one condition must pass. In this case, let's just say all conditions must pass. Then we come along in here. And if we click on edit, we can now define our conditions. So these are the same conditions that we defined on the block configuration page. So if I want to say, if I want blocks to only appear on the article content type, I will need to select here content type and then click on article. And let's also create another block visibility, and we'll call this one homepage. And click on save. And I'll add a condition, and this will be request path, and we'll call this one front. Because now what we can do is let's go back to our blocks, scroll down, and let's configure the newsletter and the Powered by Drupal to only appear on the home page. So now we are going to select the group. And if we come along in here, let's remove that and then click on homepage. So if we scroll down, we should see we do get a new column and it tells us exactly which group is being used. And if we configure the call to action, let's fix this up and change the condition group to be article content type. And that is it. And if we go to the home page, we can see our 2 blocks, which is great. And if we go to the actual article, we can see our single block, which is great. Okay. Now, let's imagine we want to change all of the blocks that are on the home page and we want to add in an extra condition. Now, using block visibility group, all we need to do is come along into block layout, visibility groups, and then edit our homepage group and simply put in a new condition. And that's it. And so if you have 10 or 20 blocks using this conditional group, well, you can just do this change once and that change happens across all the blocks. Now, just imagine if you weren't using the visibility groups module, you would have to manually go in and configure the conditions on every single block, which is a manual process, and you could actually put in bugs if you're not configuring things correctly. So straight away you can see that there's huge benefit in using the blocks visibility groups for managing your conditions. Then if we scroll back and go to block layout, and from this drop down, we can see all our global blocks. So these are all of our blocks, I believe, that aren't controlled by visibility groups. Then we can filter and see, well, if we uncheck show global blocks, and we can even add in extra conditions directly from here. We can see all of our blocks which are just using that particular group. And that's the same for homepage as well. We can see just the blocks that are using that particular group. If we go back to extend and search for block, the block visibility groups admin. This is a nice little helper which actually shows you what group is getting loaded up on the actual page. So if we install it and then go to the home page and then click on Drupal blocks. Well, I do believe if you go to structure, now, let me just have a quick look. Let's now do a little bit of debugging, because that should display a route, and that should actually display a controller, group listener. Maybe we need to clear the cache. Let's do that quickly. Let's clear the cache. And normally something should appear telling us which condition is being returned. And this is why I do not do live demos. Let's just quickly do a bit of debugging here. Why not? Why not? Add new visibility group. And I believe maybe it is used. If you come along in here. Anyway, maybe I misunderstood how that works, because back in the day, because I did write about this, activate groups. All right. Come along in here. There we go. All right. Well, that failed miserably. I thought there was a way to see all those little bits and pieces. Maybe you need to install something else. Anyway, you can't win them all. You cannot win them all. Container link. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's meant to display a little container down at the bottom. Let's have a look at the tests, shall we? Block visibility tests. It's displaying that. Block info. Block visibility group helper. And add block visibility group to route. So where does this get displayed? Let's do a quick bit of debugging. Why not? No. Maybe there's a URL. No. All right. Well, let's just uninstall that, because that's not actually useful. Anyway, uninstall that stuff. Block visibility group required by that admin. And let's close that off. All right. All right. So as you can see, getting back to it, if you want to control your visibility groups, then I highly recommend that you use block visibility group. Now, another way you can use, another way you can create your blocks is through views. Now, I have covered views in the past, and I do have a video on the WebWash channel, but I thought it's important to show you because we are talking about blocks. So let's quickly take a look at that. So let's go to structure, views, and let's imagine we want to add in all the terms in the sidebar only on an article. So what we could do is come along in here and we'll call this one article blocks. Sorry, article tags. Let's call it that. Let's leave that as article. Let's create a block and let's just save and edit. And what we need to do is add in a contextual filter, because we are on the article page. So we want it to load up the actual article entity when it's on the article page. And then select provide default value and then choose content ID from URL and click on apply. And then if we scroll down and let's grab the URL. So what is it? Node 1, of course it is, because the first one. And if we click on update preview, we should see a single item returned here, which is correct. We can see it right here. And now all we need to do is let's pull in the tags. Click on add and configure fields. I believe that formatters are fine. Click on apply. Let's remove the let's remove title because it's no longer needed. And if we scroll down, we should see all of our tags right here. There we go. And then click on save. In the middle column, we can do a few things. We can control the permission for the block. Let's just leave it as published. And we can also give it a name. So I think by default, we will use the title, but let's just call this one custom article tags. And you can adjust the category if you like, but we'll leave it as it is. And let's change this to display all. And click on save. And now if we, click on save again, make sure it's all saved, go to structure, block layout. And let's scroll all the way down. Search for custom article tags. And we'll select our block visibility group, which is article. Then scroll up. Click on Save Blocks. Then if we click on Home and go to our block, we should see the tags here on the right-hand side. Now, to test that this is actually working, let's create another test article. And I'll create a tag called test tag. Click on Save. And we should only see test tag right here, because if we click on the pencil icon and edit the view, we have this contextual filter, which is looking for the ID in the URL. That ID is getting passed to the view. It's loading up that entity and then displaying, and then we are simply displaying the tags in the sidebar. Now, in the past, there was a module called blocks, no, field as blocks or something, but you can kind of see that that's now deprecated because we can just add it in this way. And that's it. You can easily use views for that. All right, let's have a quick look, quick stop for questions. All right, first question is, don't know about others, but really enjoyed the ad hoc live troubleshooting sessions. Really? I kind of freaked out. I actually chucked that in last minute. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we'll focus on purposely giving myself a hard thing to do and just, debug it as we go through. Or maybe I'll just put a topic up and say, okay, we're going to build this, and I don't practice it, and we just build it, and we see it, and we just break things as we go through. Because yeah, there is value in seeing people debug things. No, that is true. That is true. All right, let's now finish things up nearly at the end. So at this point, we have created blocks through the block layout page. We've created content blocks. We've controlled the visibility of the blocks. And also we have created blocks using views. Now I want to show you how to create blocks using code. And we're going to make things easy. We're going to use a code generator, and we're going to use Drush for this, because you want to make your life, you want to use all the available tools out there, and Drush is a great tool for managing and creating blocks. So let's jump over to our terminal, and I'll clear this, and I will bring up Drush. And if I search for generate pipe and then I grep, I think block, there will be a generate block plugin command. But the first thing we need to do is create a module. So let's go ahead and create a custom module. So that'll be generate module, I believe. There we go. So we'll call this one www blocks. So that'll be the module name, description, custom blocks. Let's keep it simple. No dependencies, none of that. And let's just generate it. Okay. So now at this point, if we jump into our code and go to modules, we will see our www blocks here, and we do have a custom module right now. We first need to create a custom module to add our plugin into this module. So now that we have it in, what we need to do is enable it. So Drush, enable blocks. That's important. You need to enable it, because now if we come back here and go generate block, we need to now search for our module name. If you can't see the module machine name here, that means you need to install it. That's the first thing, you need to enable it. So let's install it, and we'll call this one sidebar block. Call it sidebar. You can call it whatever you want. And let's add it in there. Let's not make it configurable. Well, you can make it configurable. We don't want dependency injection, don't want access callback. Let's just keep it as simple as possible because you can add these things later on. And straight away, you can see that it's being generated. If we come along in here, source, plugin, block, we have now a custom block. And this is the absolute bare minimum required for creating a block. And that is it. So if we now jump over here and go to structure, block layout, search for sidebar, click on place block, and what was it called? I forgot what it was called. What was it? Oh, sidebar block. Sidebar block, you can see it appearing straight away. And then click on place block. It is working. Let's just leave that as it is. Add save block, scroll down and click on save blocks. And now on the home page, we should see it works right here. We can go ahead, make a change. Let's chuck in a few more exclamation marks. May have to clear the cache. Yes, we do. So right now, Drupal actually caches the loaded block in the region. So what you'll need to do is clear the cache and we refresh, and you can see that our block now is being displayed. But this is the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum required to create an actual block. And of course you can go ahead and put in access control if you like, and do all sorts of stuff. But I always recommend that when you do build blocks, always start with the bare minimum, which is just the build method, get it loaded up, because the last thing you want is to spend 2 hours debugging why the block isn't working, and then you realize that you've missed some important boilerplate code. So it's always important just to get the bare minimum working, and then once you're happy, you can move ahead and just add things to it. So that is how you create a custom block using code. And as you can see, using Drush just makes it really, really easy. Okay. So do we have any other questions before we finish up? That's pretty much it. This is a pretty short, it's only 45 minutes. What? It's only 45 minutes. All right, do we have any questions before we finish up? All right, well, let's just finish at that. Well, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal and other CMSs, head over to webwash.net. Check out also the other live videos on the channel, and you will only see those videos if you go to the live tab on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear under videos because they are live videos. But I am in the process of cutting up the longer videos and making them into shorter bite-sized clips, and then uploading those. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.